to go. Like to call the Wagoner Public Works special called business meeting May 23rd at 6:05.
Okay, we are going to start with the Wagoner Public Works Authority meeting first. The item number 1 is the presentation from GRDA regarding rate increase.
Well, good evening. Thank you all for having me tonight. My name is Dan Sullivan. I'm the CEO of the Grand River Dam Authority and a proud 1981 graduate of Wagoner High School. So it's always good to be back in town and see what's going on. I had a little time to drive around before I got started, and it's great to be here. So thank you all for having me and allowing us to make this presentation. In the almost 13 years that I've served as CEO of GRDA, this is our first rate increase. And what is driving that is why I'm here to go through some of the factors that led us to that decision and how we came about that. So let's go ahead and get started, please. So as a public power agency, we have customers all over, primarily Northeast Oklahoma. Wagoner, of course, being one of the early customers of GRDA, and starting in 1947. Having grown up here, I didn't always understand and fully appreciate the relationship between GRDA and the city of Wagoner, but as your wholesale provider of electricity, that gives your utility, obviously the group that's meeting here right now, the opportunity to have your own self-direction on your utility services and to provide those to your citizens and provide jobs that stay in the community where you're not sending your fees to Oklahoma City or to Ohio or some other place, but they stay right here in the community. And that's what public power is all about. We appreciate the long-standing relationship. Just a few years ago, we did celebrate, go ahead, the 75th anniversary of the agreement. That was in 2022. That's the bottom right picture. The top right picture I think is very interesting. It's the Power and Light Center in 1910. So Wagoner was generating its own electricity at that time, and probably, I would suspect, I don't know this for a fact, but probably only during the daytime. That was the most common way that was done at the time. And then later, you saw 24-hour service. But providing power for businesses and schools and the like was the primary purpose behind that. And then in 1935, the GRDA was created. Our first hydropower project was finished in 1940. It's the Pensacola Dam that creates Grand Lake. And in 1947, Wagoner became a wholesale customer. During the war, the federal government had complete control over the dam, and they turned it back over to GRDA in 1946 and 1947, and that's when my grandfather was laid off from GRDA as one of the security officers there at the dam. So long history there. We've had several board members from the very beginning. Guy Krause was on the board from 1937 to 1939. Jim Biggerstaff from 1941 to 43. Frank Cunningham, 1966 to 67. Dr. John H. Wright from 1971 to 1980. He was our board chair when we built the first coal unit in 1977, or at least started that process, and just passed away recently. And then, of course, our very own Dwayne Elam is currently serving on the board and has been doing that since 2018. As a community partner, one of the things that we look at is how can we be a good partner with the citizens of the city and continue to draw a relationship between GRDA and the people that are the ultimate customers of what we produce, and that is your customer for the electricity. And so we've been very involved in several projects, including Christmas in Wagoner, the Bluegrass and Chili Festival in the past, and of course the Lake Views and barbecue events. And we're happy to continue to support those efforts and others that are happening in the community. Also, we've been involved with Leadership Wagoner, the Infrastructure Day luncheon sponsor. Our own Justin Alberti, who's here with me tonight, has been a member of that class of 23 to 24. And, of course, our membership with the Chamber of Commerce and supporting the electric system. Some of the things that we've done is help provide thermal imaging cameras, which are very useful in looking and detecting issues that may be on the system, data recorders and the like. But we're happy to continue to work and support all the efforts that are happening here in Wagoner. On our rate objectives, what we looked at as we went through this process was how do we raise sufficient capital to fund the needs that we have on operating administrative costs and the revenue levels, to maintain our debt compliance. One of the biggest driving factors for this new increase is the fact that we are having to build a new natural gas unit at our Grand River Energy Center, which is in Choteau. So we have 2 coal units there. The first unit has been mothballed. The second unit is still in operation. And then we have a natural gas combined cycle unit that was commissioned in 2017. And now we're building what we're calling Unit 4 that will be next to that, which will be another gas unit there. That will replace the remaining coal unit that's on the property. So why are we eliminating coal? Coal has been a great source of generation for us. One of the best things about it is that you can leave the stockpile of fuel on the ground and have it available if something happens. We had a fire in that unit in 2016 that caused us to have to rebuild it. We did, but because of that and some other circumstances, it's virtually uninsurable at this point. And if anyone's watched all the comings and goings out of Washington, D.C., you understand the EPA's battle and war on coal is very real, and it's something that we see on a daily basis. So those are some of the factors that have led to that. But there's another important part of this, is that as the Southwest Power Pool that we're a member of, as those changes are happening and they are bringing in more and more renewable resources, wind and solar, but primarily wind, when the wind lays down or the wind doesn't perform as expected, something has to take up the slack. Natural gas is one of the best tools to do that because it's a quick start and you can ramp up very quickly to be able to counteract any of those changes. Our coal unit takes about 16 hours to start from cold. This new unit will be about 6 minutes. So it's a vast difference in being able to respond to those changes on a timely basis so that we know that we're able to meet the objectives of our customers, the city and the citizens of Wagoner and all the other communities that we serve. So our budget, in our 5-year forecast through 2028 includes $475 million in additional debt to fund this new electric generation facility. It's a lot of money, and we recognize that, but we looked at all of the alternatives and believe this to be the best and least cost option that was available to us to replace this coal unit. The potential losses of revenue that we may have, I don't think that's actually going to happen, but we do have one of our customers that their contracts are coming up. They've now discussed the desire to renew those, so that may not become a reality, but that's something that we had to plan for. Continued spending on critical infrastructure to support reliable service. Pardon me. We're doing a lot of work right now, particularly here in Wagoner, substation renovation and updates that will help make sure that there's a reliable transmission of that power from our generation facilities to your customers. And then have sufficient capital to rehabilitate and replace hydro generation. As I mentioned, our Pensacola project was completed in 1940. Our Markham Ferry or Lake Hudson Kerr Dam that creates Lake Hudson was finished in 1964. And our Salina pump station was finished in 2 stages in 1968 and 1972. So the Salina pump storage is one of those that's in desperate need of upgrades, and we've been evaluating that to try to make sure that we can remain reliable, but use that very unique resource. So if you haven't seen it or if you're not familiar with it, think of it as a large battery. We created a reservoir where we pump water, literally pump water uphill into this reservoir and hold it, and then it's available to generate as needed. So it can generate up to 10, maybe 12 hours depending on the circumstances, and then it's done. Then we have to refill it and start over again. And that's why I say it's like a battery. You pump water uphill, you hold it, when you need it, it's available, and we can generate. So that unit in particular, again, because of its quick start capabilities, has a very useful purpose in the SPP market. So Unit 4, which is the new unit that we just broke ground on last week, is the purpose of really why I'm here and talking about a rate increase. We hired Black & Veatch, which is the national engineering firm, to do the analysis and work with us in selecting the unit, and not only that, but oversee and help us with the construction. It's a Mitsubishi 501 JAC, which is J is just the unit model type. AC means air cooled. So our combined cycle plant that we have now is a 501J, but it's water cooled, not air cooled. It's interesting when you think about using steam to cool something, but when you're at 1500 Celsius, it needs something to cool off. These operate at very high temperatures, past the point of melting metal. So they have to have thermal barrier coatings to protect the unit, and these are very high technology driven units, and the Unit 3 has been a great addition to our fleet and has served us well. Also, all of the environmental aspects that we talked about, and then replacing the aging coal generator, the fast start I mentioned. This unit will be available to operate at 30% hydrogen. We saw that coming and felt like it was a good thing to be prepared for in the future. So we asked that it be designed in a way that it would accommodate 30% hydrogen. It's not really commercially available yet, but it's one of those fuels that as it becomes available, we can mix that in and not have to make any other retrofits to the unit. We anticipate that it will be online by the summer, about this time in 2 years from now in 2026, and then we'll be able to reclaim our site that we have now for our coal storage and use it for other purposes. Some of the objectives behind our plan related to our rates is to move always toward a cost of service basis. That's how, pardon me, that's how we operate. That's how you operate as a utility. It's what does it cost, because we're not-for-profit organizations. What does it cost to deliver this good to your customer? And that's the amount that you have to recover, plus debt service or any other overhead and so forth. And that's part of the study. We found that we needed to have outside help, and we engaged Guernsey, which is a national engineering firm. They have an office in Oklahoma City. So if they live out of town and they have a briefcase, they're an expert, right? So we hired them, and they did this study, and they helped us and realized that, you know, some of our customer classes were out of balance. So we have the retail customers within the Mid-America Industrial Park. That's the only place that we sell retail electricity. And then we have all of our other wholesale, including Wagoner and the other communities that we serve. So, you know, part of that process was making sure that there was a good basis for how we are recovering among all of those rate classes. It's real easy to come in and say, well, we need X dollars, so let's just add a percentage across the board and call it good. Well, that's one way of doing it, but it's not the most beneficial way to operate. And to be able to say, this is a group that may need to have a little more of a rate increase, others not so much. You know, looking at what are the revenue requirements for each service of customer, because not each customer has the same utilization, not each customer has the same infrastructure to support them. And so there's a lot of things that you have to evaluate, and that's why we engaged in this study. It's an industry standard to be able to do that, and I know that, you know, a lot of our municipal customers have hired companies to do these, and it is a standard process. The report that we received as a result of that, I did identify some structural imbalances that we're working to fix and to change. And again, that's why we do these studies, to make sure that we're getting the rates assigned to the right classes. So in our rate plan, what does that look like? Excuse me. Move toward a more balanced cost of service structure as permitted in each year. We want to maximize increase to one class no more than 4% annually. So we set an artificial barrier to where we did not want to raise any of our customers more than 4% per year, because we knew that part of the balance was that the municipal customers were out of balance with some of the retail customers, and so we wanted to blunt that and make sure that we didn't add too much at one time, to smooth that out and to work toward this cost of service balance. And then there was no rate reduction, so nobody got a rate reduction as a result of this. The study showed that we could have, but again, to try to mitigate and not have to raise any one class more than 4%, something had to give. And that's why you go through this process. You look at what are your objectives, how do you want to treat these classes, and then we looked at how we adjusted going forward. Then on the application part of it, really at the request of Dwayne Elam, one of our board members, he said, let's look at this on a 3-year basis to make it, provide more certainty, to make sure that, that as you as our municipal customer has to make rate changes, that there's some certainty to that, and there's a planning horizon that you can use to make sure that you're adequately recovering what you need to do. So that's what we did, starting on October 1st of this year, to achieve those revenue targets. The annual rate changes are allocated on a class base, on a cost of service method, and then in 2026, and we'll do it before then, but in 2026 will be the 3rd year of this. We will reassess and look at what do we need to do going forward. Do we need to continue at this pace? Can we let our foot off the accelerator a little bit? What are the changes that have happened? Because nothing stays the same, and we know that we'll have to make some changes. So this chart, and it's a little bit of an eye test, especially for those that are sitting in the back of the room. It's even for me, and I have one right in front of me. But you can see that these are all of the classes of customers that we have, and we highlighted the wholesale distribution primary, which is what Wagoner is one of. You're not the only one, but you're one of that class of customer for GRDA. And you can see that across the board, there's a 4% change over 3 years that equals to just a little over 12% if you round the numbers up, and that's what the board has approved. So we're looking at some revenue target changes and the allocation among all of the groups to get to where what we need to make sure that we're able to meet our debt service requirements and all the other expenses of running the authority. So looking at how does this compare then to what other utilities are doing in the state of Oklahoma? So we looked at, what has PSO and what has OG&E filed with the Oklahoma Corporation Commission in the last few years. And you'll see in the last 5 years, PSO has requested what would amount to about an average residential monthly bill of $12 per month. And of that increase, the Corporation Commission approved rate changes of about $10, and PSO's average residential rate is about 12 cents per kilowatt hour. OG&E has requested rate changes over the last 5 years, which, if approved, would be about $25, almost $26 per month, and an additional $19 a monthly increase was requested about a month ago. Of the increase requested, thus far, the Corporation Commission has approved changes that amount to about $23.61 per month per customer of increases. OG&E average rate is about 13.41 cents per kilowatt hour. So, they're a little higher than PSO, but you can see that, there's been a lot of change, been a lot of rate pressure that's going on in the industry. Obviously, we have tried to manage all of the increased cost associated with operating our utility, but when we had to build something like Unit 4, there just wasn't any other alternative other than to look to you as our customers to help us fund that, to make sure that we can serve you for the future. And one of the things that I've talked about in many groups and many settings, we as a utility, you as a utility, have to consider, what does the future look like? We have to make 20 and 30-year decisions based on a 4-year election cycle. What happens in November can dramatically impact what happens with the EPA and other federal agencies and how they view what the future looks like. We saw this, as a change of administrations over the last couple of years. It may not move the needle that much, but it does change timelines and what the end objective is. So, in picking Unit 4, the characteristics of it, of how it operates in the market, that it's quick start, that it's available to serve the needs of our customers are the fundamental issues. But we're also saying, what do we need in the future? What do we need to make sure that we're able to meet our commitments? That's how we went about this. So if you look at all of this, you'll see that we believe this is a very reasonable approach. We think it's a very tempered approach to being able to generate the income necessary to make this additional debt service. We have maintained our AA- credit rating with the credit rating agencies when we did our first tranche of bond sale in December. We're looking at sometime later this year doing the second tranche of that to raise the funds. But one thing that was really interesting, we went into the market with the idea of selling $150 million worth of bonds. We got there, and we had over 1 billion orders for our bonds. We're selling $150 million, and we had 1 billion orders. So there was a lot of people that wanted to buy GRDA bonds because they know the communities that we serve, they know the people that are behind this, and we ended up bumping that up to $205 million, so we upsized it a little bit. But, that shows that there's a market for what we're trying to do. They recognize that there's a good business plan behind it. The credit rating agencies have recognized that, but also the bond market. With that level of interest, we know that we're on the right track. So, in thinking about, all of these things, obviously, you as a retail utility, let's go into the next, thinking about, just the parts of your bill that your customers see. I wanted to talk about that for just a moment. You have the customer charge, which is a fixed charge that utilities use to help defray fixed expenses. So you want fixed charges to go to fixed expenses. And then you have energy charge, which ramps up and down depending on the month and how much energy is actually used. Then you have the power cost adjustment, which is the fuel portion of it. So our power cost adjustment is about half of the value of the bill that we send to Wagoner every month. About half of that is the power cost. That's the fuel necessary to generate the electricity. So that changes a little bit. Thankfully, it's been on the downward trend over the last year. It got quite a bit higher a couple of years ago with gas prices that were staying high, and now it's moderated quite a bit. It's almost a third less than what it was about a year ago. And then lastly, there's the demand charge. Now, as I understand it, the way your system works and the way your billing works, that's primarily for commercial and industrial customers, because you're looking at, a different way that a customer uses that electricity. They typically, not all, but typically are using it during the business day. Residential customers, morning and evening are the peak times, that are surrounding the times that most industrial customers. Now, commercial customers are open later. They have a different profile. Heating and air conditioning load, have a big impact on that. So, all of those things have to be taken into consideration when you're doing the cost of service study to make sure that you have all of those revenue requirements met by those classes that are represented on every customer's bill. And that's why it's important to have, the assistance of folks that can assist your utility in coming up with the best strategy to make sure that your costs are fixed in the right way. I hope that's helpful. That's all the slides I have, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So I got a question. So this increase is, I guess it's budgeted for a 5-year forecast until 2028. This is solely for the new electric generation system?
Yes.
And then when did the other one go out, or the fire happen?
So the fire happened in 2016. We rebuilt the unit. It's in service today.
Okay.
But it's because of the operational characteristics. It's not. It doesn't run a lot. There's value to us in having it, whether it's running or not. But that's one of the reasons we're looking to replace it. We were hoping to run it through 2030. That was our original plan, but all these other changes, again, trying to foresee where we are going, tell us that we needed to act quicker. And I'm glad that we did act when we did, because when we did the groundbreaking a week ago, the folks from Mitsubishi told us that they're taking orders now for delivery in 2029 and 2030. So we would have lost that opportunity. And all the other equipment manufacturers are in the same boat. They're seeing a high demand right now of units being built around the country.
So do you think the hydrogen will potentially offset that cost some? Kind of scares me a little bit. That sounds like GRDA is wanting to move away from coal, which I understand exactly what you mean. But my employer, our coal lot was almost empty, and we were going to natural gas, and then gas skyrocketed. And I looked out there just the other day, and it's the most coal I've seen out there in my 5 years of employment. So do you think that hydrogen will offset that some?
Well, that's the hope. The problem is if you did it today, it would not, because the cost of hydrogen is still too high. Frankly, one of my beefs on a national basis is we don't have. There's someone at the door. On a national basis, we don't have an energy policy, but we have a tax policy. And the tax policy is what's driving this. So the tax policy of production tax credits is what has driven a lot of the wind development in our state and other states. Of course, we are where the wind comes sweeping down the plains, right? So, we have a lot of wind that's not always available for other states. But it's the tax policy that's driven that. And that's what's going to bring down, at least that's the plan, to bring down the cost associated with the production of hydrogen. There's all of this, how is the hydrogen produced? That's becoming less of a discussion, because I think at least the folks that are concerned the most about reducing carbon is that they shouldn't care how it's produced. It's something that will help reduce that, and the byproduct of burning hydrogen is water. You're adding air to it.
Anyone else?
These rate studies or whatnot that you guys have done, or the projection of the 5 years or whatnot. So I know that we have some things we have to go over about rate studies and everything else. Is there not a way that the city of Wagoner can utilize that information to help out, because I guess we have to do something with the rate study ourselves to try to, because really you guys have, you have more than just our municipality. You have numerous municipal governments that you cater to as far as basically providing their energy. So
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, as we did this, we looked at the rate classes that are illustrated here on the board, and so we look at them in groups. So Wagoner was grouped with all the other distribution primary customers when we looked at how do we assign this revenue requirement. We didn't drill down into the individual specifics of each of those communities because they all look different. And I mean, that's really one of the biggest points about this, is that this is not a one-size-fits-all. What the rate study looks like for GRDA is far different than it would be for another utility. And the same would be true for the characteristics of the unique nature of what Wagoner looks like compared to Sallisaw, Tahlequah, or anyone else. But that's a great question, though.
So I guess so you can't.
We didn't get to that level of detail. Again, we looked at by groups, and that's what you would look at in your own rate study. You would look at residential customers. You may have different. You may only have one class of residential. You may have different classes depending on whether it's an apartment or that may be considered commercial versus residential. But you want to lump those categories and look at those in a group to help you, because you're not going to drill down to an individual customer. You're going to look at who's the most similar and what do those characteristics tell us about how we need to raise the revenue to make sure that we're covering all of our costs.
Anyone else? Some other stuff, Patrick?
Well, we're just trying to figure. I mean, obviously, just being on site, I know a lot. It increase is haven't fared well in from energy to taxes,
right,
to everything else, and I'm sure, just being honest, I'm sure that to know that this $475 million thing is going to obviously boost, give a better production of energy to our cities, but they're kind of fitting the bill to do that. So I don't know, and so I'm looking at it's like 2016 this happened with the fire, so there was projection there like, okay, well, we may not be able to go back to coal because it depends on who's in office, just being honest. Where it could change that if we got to go to coal or natural gas or something else. But to kind of look at the forethought of 2016 having that happen, you rebuild it, and then looking that we're in 2024 and 8 years of of not knowing that we're going to do something, got to do something different.
Well, and that's part of the reality that we've found ourselves in, is that, you know, the decisions that we made based on the information in front of us in 2016 was rebuild the unit, get it back into production, and we have. It's performed well since then, but you know, and we thought we could run it through 2030. You know, we probably could today still run it through 2030, but there's a big question mark associated with that. Is would we have to do any other upgrades to it? You know, we didn't want to spend any more money on a unit that we can't insure and that we know has a very short life expectancy left. So, you know, it becomes a matter of, you know, the vehicle has worn itself out and we can't get it tagged anymore. You know, then, you know, we have to replace it with something. And so that's why we look through, you know, what are the best alternatives to in replacing that unit. And I can assure you that we think about the end-use customers in the city of Wagoner and all the other cities that we serve, because that ultimately is who's paying the bills. And you know, we believe, and I think if you look across the country, you know, what everybody else does isn't necessarily the right thing for us. But if you look at how many utilities across the country have ordered new, you know, advanced class gas units like this, that's why there's such a backlog right now.
Anyone else? Thanks, Dan.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and we're always here to answer any other questions that you might have. Thank you.
Item number 2 is discussion and possible action to enter into a contract with Utility Financial Services for a utility rate study.
Have we, like, shopped around for somebody else to do this utility rate study?
We did in the very beginning when we started the issue with rate studies, several years back. From that standpoint, they have all of our information. They work with us throughout the year with adjustments and stuff if we have questions to go through there. And from that standpoint, as a matter of fact, their cost of doing business went up, but they have actually held to their quote that they gave me back last year when we were going through budgeting process when we budgeted this line item. And I also failed to mention, within this rate, cost of service, it also has a solar rate that they're going to implement and design for us. A lot of questions come around the solar conversation. We do not have that in place. They will look at all those key points Mr. Sullivan just talked about with our different rate classes, et cetera, design us a rate to implement, as well as looking at a time of use rate study, alternate to be able to help offset issues with people utilizing, whether it be peak, off-peak, help energy conserve for those individuals if they so choose, and give them a better rate in a different class.
Say on that right there, as far as the solar, will GRDA, will they buy the energy back, or you buy that energy that people have on their solar?
We wouldn't be, you know, you can set it up different ways. You can do a net metering, but typically that's done by the city.
Local utility.
Local utility.
That would be netting out, you know, the utilization. And that's why it's really important to have a study like this done, because you want to make sure you've got your cost set. Because once you implement it, if someone starts putting in solar and you make a change, then you're subject to a lot of criticism at that point.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you have it seeing more and more in Oklahoma. A lot of people out there are telling residents that they can get a zero bill. But, you know, what they don't say is how much it costs up front to get to that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Is this not something we can, bring up after budget, or it has to be immediately? Because I know he said the price won't go up to October.
The implementation of GRDA,
Because I know that I've
Goes
talked
into
to
effect
some
in
other
October.
municipalities, and, who was the people that did your rate study, start with a G?
Gramercy.
person? Yeah, they do Talapaw's rate study. And I just, and they do Lake Region.
Right? Now,
Correct.
you just said,
correct,
for this current budget that we're in.
correct.
And when they did it last time, we didn't have a contract for so many years with this, or it was just a 3-year contract?
I don't understand your question.
Well, when they did it the last time, you said, which was 3 years ago, I guess,
Okay.
did we, I mean, it was a contract for 3 years, or just automatic 3 years?
It was a rate designed for 3 years.
Okay.
This is a situation, no other municipalities not facing the same exact conversation. Talafall, Salisal, Stillwater, Stillwell, Collinsville, Claremore, we're all facing the same conversation and looking at that aspect. Also, when we get into the Public Works budget, you will also see we are presenting a flat budget due to the cost of increases with materials, items going up to continue to provide the service that we currently provide, as I mentioned last council meeting. We have to make some adjustments in order to continue to do business as a business entity.
I'll make a motion to enter into rate study for utility financial services for rate study. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Butler,
Yes.
Higginbottom,
Yes.
Sampson,
No.
Leonard,
No.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Wright,
No.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Item number 3, discussion and planning of 2024-2025 WPWA budget.
Chairman, how do you want me to present it? Here or up in front like usual?
It's wherever you want to do it at. Here,
Since we've got a group and we've got that up here, if it's all the same to you guys, I'll just try to present it here and hold this mic if I can. If it's on. Okay, everybody ready? And we'll proceed into the proposed budget of 2024, 2025. If you'll go down through the revenue class and the changes, as every year we highlight only the changes that are in this conversation. On Wagoner Public Works Authority, we have increased the sewer charges because our sewer has increased by $150,000. So you see that change into that line item. If you notice, our electric sales, we changed last year as well from the previous years from that revenue, but that is the only change we see coming forth in the revenue increases at current rate with our current budget. Our total revenues in 2022, 2023 was $16,088,000. Our total revenues in 23, 24 was $15,273,000. And our proposed revenues at present right now, until we get our June financials in, is $15,253, which you see a declining revenue stream. If anybody has any questions of that, I'd be happy to entertain them. Otherwise, I will move on to the water plant.
Where we at?
We're in Public Works.
Yeah, there's
Thank you.
a tag on there.
Sorry. Wasn't on the tag. Yeah, I got it. Sorry. Okay.
Can everybody hear me okay? I'm trying to hold this. Any questions? Okay, moving into the water plant department. The highlighted aspects into this department is our insurance general. Insurance is going up. We've had to make an adjustment with that. Our telephone line item has went up. We've had to make an adjustment with that. From $4,500 to $5,400. Our software SCADA upgrade that we had initially budgeted last year, but we had a miscommunication between the water plant department and myself, was $58,000. We only have $5,800 in there. We did not make that upgrade, obviously, because we did not have the revenues and the dollars in there to do it. At this point in time, we do not have the revenues in here to make this correction and upgrade to our SCADA system at the water plant with the software. So at present, it is zeroed out. Any questions in the water department? Water distribution. Again, going by the highlighted line items, AT&T services. Our current budget's $2,000 in that line item. It's raising to $2,300. We have since got those personnel in the field, Jeff and Joe, respectfully, and Jody at the water plant in those different departments, but they actually have iPads. So when they're in the field, they can pull up the distribution system, whether it be water, wastewater, see where the lines are set, and actually perform work out in the field instead of having to run back to the office and see what they've got going on. That tablet runs just like a cell phone, so it has to have cellular communication out there to be able to have that ability to be able to see those lines. So that's the reason for the increase for that. The GIS water system at the bottom, the $25,000, that's where we just upgraded and put all of our water system on an electronic format and no longer on paper with these lines, which is the reason we've moved to an electronic form with iPads and tablets that allows our personnel in the field to be more efficient and effective when they have to make repairs or new line extensions, etc. So as you can see, we expended those dollars last year. That line item is a change because it is zeroed out, so it's highlighted as a change. Any questions? If none, I will proceed on. Water disposal plant. The sewer plant, as I mentioned last council meeting, the sewer plant is actually becoming to an end of life. There's a decision this board's going to have to be making in the near future in regards to a sewer plant with that aspect, but that's not a conversation of today. But the highlighted item and the only change in this budget being presented to you right now versus the budget we're operating off of is the insurance that's went up from $34,000 roughly to $34,500 from that standpoint. Any questions? If not, I will move on. Electric distribution. Overtime. We've actually expended overtime this year with all the storms and our distribution personnel out there. They've had a lot of workload, especially this last month with a lot of issues. We've increased that from 61,500 to 65,000. The step raises, which is our journeyman-based, apprentice-based individuals as they become more educated in class and come up to a journeyman class. We used to have step raises in that aspect. We have redirected that conversation because most of our guys are journeymen or right at that level that we have employed, and we have zeroed that out in that line item as well. So we no longer have $11,000 in regards to step raises for those individuals. Uniform expenses, with the safety and new FR, which is fire resistant clothing, they have to wear a special type of clothing. They can't just wear cotton material or anything else. They have to wear stuff that is flame retardant due to flashbacks and electrical fires with transformers, et cetera, up there. We have 31,000 in there because of the increase of this year's price increase we inherited through the uniform company. So if you look at your reflective budget right now, that's what that shows. So we've took that initial number and moved it forward to the new budget coming forward, which is 31,000 for clothing and uniform. Telephone and tablets, I alluded to this for the other departments earlier. 2,900, what we had in there prior from last year. We've gotten all those tablets assigned and assessed. Thanks to GRDA providing those tablets to our employees in that department, et cetera. But they have to be able to operate in the field, and it's basically a cellular platform communication so they can see what they've got going on in the field. We still do have the Derek Digger truck down there. At present, we know in the future when we're able to get that in, that price is no longer going to be $350,000. Just like when we get to the fire department, we'll talk about that conversation and the price of the new fire truck coming in. That cost is going up, and has went up, and we anticipated it to go up. We made those comments last year as we started working towards this direction from that standpoint. Any questions within the electric distribution department?
There was a increase in the longevity bonus. It went from 59 to 61.
You're absolutely correct. It did not get highlighted in there as well, but that is with the longevity pay conversation that went through last year. With that aspect, everybody steps each year of tenure.
Okay. I just,
You bet, Laura, if you want to.
In personal services, there are changes in employee insurance, payroll, taxes, all of those things. They're just not highlighted because it's a different department.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, longevity in the next department is the same way.
They're all, those are simultaneous with all departments, whether it be public works or city. Any other questions within electric distribution? Electric office, rental, copier machine that we have. We actually have a quote in your budget packet there. With ours, it's time to upgrade and renew that aspect. We've had $2,000 in there for our rental conversation. We've upped that to $2,500 to be able to have a new copier machine through the Public Works office with all the billing and stuff that they do down there in that regard. So that's the change we have in the electric office and materials and supplies. The AMR in-code maintenance fees, $37,500 has been increased to $40,000. That's got to do with our in-code, our AMI, all of our electronic cloud-based billing software and everything else that we have that has passed on a rate increase to us that we have to deal with. Billing software, again, that's been raised just minimal, but nonetheless, it is a change. Therefore, it is highlighted from $12,200 to $12,250. Our debit and credit card fees and online bill pay. If you will notice, over the last 3 years, it is continuing to go up. This is where customers of ours pay online. That online portal has a fee attached to it for them to be able to provide that service. That is a service that we eat and we have to pay. So as you can see, it took $86,900 out of our revenue in 2022-23. This year that we're working on budget right now with 23-24, it's increased to $110,000. And the projected conversation with what we see on track right now is to be increased to roughly $157,000 in this coming year.
So that
That is an expense we get nothing back for.
So we can't, I mean, I know whenever I go pay my bill, I have to, and I use my card, I have to They gotta pay the upcharge.
This is online.
That's
If you
online.
pay online.
This is online.
So, we,
So
we're
there's
talking
nothing-
about it, we're gonna try to find out if there's a
Something.
way to attach a fee to that. Also gonna look at going to a different company.
Yeah, I was gonna say, go to a company,
I
if anything,
think we've
That's-
already
that's-
done it once.
$157,000.
That's a lot of money.
It's crazy.
That's a lot. How much is, so what's the percentage of the fee?
I don't know that this uptick is due to the number of people. We are basically right now running close to 50% of our
Customers.
customers
Going
paying
online.
either
Online.
online or by phone, and we don't recoup those fees. The walk-ins, yes, we recoup the $5. I'm going to call the company and discuss with them if we can lower these fees somehow, or we can recoup a fee. There is a $2 charge for the online, but that goes to the company, to Enco who processes that. You know, and we don't get any part of that fee.
So they get-
I'm going to work on
So
They get the
seeing
money,
about
we
if
eat it, and we eat
there's
it.
changes
Yes,
in
that's
it.
correct.
Every time we change, I will tell you, it's immediately we can save you money, and for a few months we do. And then, you know, it's just that, but, and it's also, it's just very intense.
There's gotta be some way, we gotta look, try to find out a fee or something.
Down, or find out if we can pass those online, if there's a way to do that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say from 86 to 157, that's, I mean, that is,
It's a big jump.
Loss.
that-
Yes.
Total loss.
Most of it is an increase of the number of people paying.
And that's what we're going to, it's only gonna go up. You know, if we
Yeah, there
get
has to be
that-
something
if
different.
We're already at 50%.
157,000.
Yeah,
It's
there's
gonna
gotta be
continue.
somebody else too.
Where you're coming in and paying by check or in person, eventually, that's gonna be a thing of the past.
Hey, I like that.
I actually do too. Electric office, the next page is our notes payable to RWB with the stormwater loan. We had it at 280. Looking at the amortization schedule, because knowing that our budget is tight in the public works, Laura looked at it, she felt comfortable we could reduce that to 150,000 this year in the budget, with our amortization schedule on the stormwater loan through RWB. So we made that adjustment as well, and a reduction. Supporting documents behind that in regards to the copier machine, et cetera.
There are 5 quotes in there on copier, and I have another one coming up today.
Which the one we have there, it's not color or anything like that.
It is 2 years old, and it's 2 years old.
Do any of these quotes, Ron, do they include, the maintenance and stuff?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, they're all.
that's all,
Okay, there
that's
it
all
is right
included.
there.
And that is included, and your color copies are extra, but we allotted money in the line item for the color copies. So we don't make that many, but we do need to get them.
Next department is the shop that covers the entire city and public works, fleet, et cetera. As you see, there's no highlighted changes in that department.
Hold on, yeah, we're going through
Yeah,
the
yeah.
quotes.
You gotta get behind them quotes.
Yeah, inventory control right now.
Page 9, Brenda.
We got-
Question, what was that, the longevity bonus, what was the other things that would be, insurance? That would be.
Insurance
increasing?
fluctuates, not all
Right.
insurance has increased, some has decreased. Salaries,
Payroll taxes, insurance, workman comp.
Okay, just wanna make sure I was just looking at some things that were different.
mainly your top square fluctuates.
Okay.
Is everybody at inventory control ready to roll? Go ahead.
Insurance, highlighted aspect of that, our insurance and inventory control from $2,800, increased to $2,800, or from $2,500 to $2,800. Wastewater distribution. We really needed to have a conversation, and hopefully we'll be able to in the next coming year or two, but the wastewater fleet is the oldest fleet we have in the Public Works and City at this point. We addressed the PD fleet last year and continuing to address that, but the wastewater fleet and trucks that pull equipment to perform utilities and all that nature or getting towards their end of life, unfortunately, we do not have the revenues in this budget to implement them into a budget from that standpoint. Therefore, you do not see them in this budget. What you do see the change is the gas, oil, and filters. From that aspect of 20,000 from last year when we started the stormwater project, they took on the bulk of that fuel expense until we got that rolling and was able to submit to RWB for the fuel conversation. But we had to get that project started and going. So we did, and that's where we allocated the fuel to. Since then, and that project's moving forward, we have reduced that cost back down to $15,000 in that department as a typical yearly gas, oil, and maintenance aspect on our vehicles from that standpoint. Insurance general, again, from $5,130 to $5,500. Our repairs and maintenance on the vehicle equipment, what I was alluding to with our aging fleet, we've increased that to $10,000, or from $10,000 to $15,000. The repair bills continue to go up each year due to various issues starting to wear out. And our annual mapping software, we have a maintenance charge yearly that we will have in regards to that for those guys to be able to do the things in the field and be able to pull it up with our mapping, with our lines and distribution, so they are able to serve our customers better, our contractors for new extensions, etc. That is all the changes within the wastewater distribution from that aspect. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll move forward. Line maintenance department. Again, I alluded to this earlier in the electric department with the uniform expense of the FR, fire retardant resistance. As conversation, we have to increase that to $1,500 or $15,200 from $6,700, what it previously was from that. So we've had to increase that uniform expense to ensure that our personnel out there in the field working around electric lines and that nature are as safe as possible and don't have any issues while they're trying to do their job. And then also the insurance general again. Down here it just has a slight increase, but nonetheless it is increased. Therefore, it's highlighted in that aspect from $3,150 to $4,000. Which brings us to our final page. If you will recall, back in the revenue aspect, we had $15,253,900 in revenues to expense. Going through all those departments, we have expended $15,248,986, which leaves a balance, or a bottom line fund balance of only $4,900.14.
What have we carried over from our last budget to this budget?
Cash on hand?
Yes.
Lord, do you have that number?
The fund balance, not the fund balance.
Yeah, from the past, this past budget.
that concludes your Public Works budget until we have June financials in. Projections for June don't expect to be very good due to the weather's been very comfortable, very nice, hasn't been hot. There hasn't been a whole lot of air conditioners running with the rain. Water sales have probably, I'm sure, has been down from that aspect with all the rain, so, but until we get the end of May financials and see what the June numbers are starting off and seeing the next budget run we go, this is what we're looking at in the Public Works budget. Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back to you.
Any questions? We will move on then to adjournment.
Second.
You're fine. You're fine. Anthony and Jimmy. Jimmy. Have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
We'll call the City of Wagoner special called business meeting May 23rd at 7:12.
Item number 1, discussion and possible action to approve the appointment of Mayor Dalton Self as Eastern Oklahoma Development District Board Representative for the City of Wagoner and approve Dwayne Elam as alternate representative.
Is that what doing with the houses with, the man that came and spoke?
So what we are, we're a dual cog. We're incog, and
Yeah.
what's the other one?
DODD
Yeah.
and INCOG.
Yeah.
This is the ODD.
Right, which was Scott, and then I can't remember who the other gentleman that came with Scott the first time where we had to sign to do the,
Ernie Moore.
for the grant. So that's what this is.
Okay, my perception of this is that, okay, you're gonna be the board, right, on it, okay? Wouldn't it be not appropriate if the vice mayor is not the alternative representative? That's what he's for.
The only thing, I don't know if he'll have time. That's, if,
I mean,
I'm sure Dwayne
I mean,
probably
he's
wouldn't
got his own
care.
job.
I would absolutely not care, so.
I mean, that's the way things work. You got a manager, you got a assistant manager. You have, you know, it goes to the person that's already underneath the mayor. And I'm sure Anthony can find time.
I do know in years past, in James Jennings there as mayor, James Jennings was representative, and in his absence, it was Larry Morgan, that served as an alternate. With AJ, I don't think anybody ever served as an alternate, because AJ made every one of those meetings, to my knowledge, so. And Larry Morgan also was the alternate, with AJ.
And how often these meetings?
Once
a month?
I believe, aren't they?
Yeah, once a month.
1:30, 1 and 1:30 in the afternoon, yeah.
No, I kinda get what you're saying though, cause I know
I
other
mean, that's
municipal
what it's supposed
governments
to
say,
be.
the
I mean,
vice mayors, they're
Yeah.
responsible.
I mean, that's why we vote you as vice mayor.
That would tickle me to death if you want to do that.
Well, I mean, if that, I don't have no problem with it, I'll make it.
We need to make sure we have representation.
It's for grants, things like that. We don't want to miss out on.
No.
It is the third Thursday of each month, the executive committee meeting at 1, the regular meeting at 1:30. And we are entitled to a seat on the board of directors And usually it's normally the mayor. If that person is unable, they can also approve an alternate who can be anyone, i.e. another city employee or council member, according to EODD.
Or is anyone else interested on the board?
Where's these meetings held at?
Muskogee.
Pretty much.
I think it's down on Main Street.
Probably water.
Water and Bruce.
I'm used to that.
Unsweet tea. You want it, Anthony? Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion then. I'll make a motion to approve the appointment of Mayor Dalton Self and,
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Anthony Wagner, to the EODD board to represent City of Wagner as, or as the alternate representative.
Let's second it.
Have a motion second. Please call the roll.
Leonard,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Higginbottom,
Yes.
Sampson,
Yes.
Abernathy,
No.
Butler,
No.
Item number 2, to approve or not approve resolution number 757, resolution of project sponsorship, transportation alternatives program application and maintenance commitment, downtown streetscape phase 3.
This is North Main. Discussion? Entertain a motion?
This is South Main?
No, 2 is South Main, this is North Main.
North Main, like from
Cherokee.
to the whole down North Main, or
I believe to
remember.
the library, correct?
at the cost of,
1.2,
what?
1.232, 1.2 million.
Information should be in your packet.
Yes.
I know, I'm looking for it, thank
Should be
you.
pretty close to the third page, fourth page. Right there. That's it.
Which I believe the deadline for this grant is, end of this month.
Yes, deadline, we need to have them approved this meeting or not, or we miss out on the opportunity.
I'll make that motion to approve resolution 757.
Second.
A motion second, any discussion? Please call the roll.
Higginbottom,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Wright,
No,
Wagoner,
Yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
Sampson,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Item number 3, discussion and possible action to waive the probation period on library employee Amanda Franks.
My apologies, council. Last month when we had Amanda Franks on our agenda, I had intended on requesting that we waive the probationary period because she's been employed with us for 2 years and has been an excellent employee. We'd like her to go ahead and accumulate her time and all that. But it was my mistake. I forgot it last council meeting.
Second.
Now, if we waive that, can we waive that from last month?
You can make it retroactive if you decide to with the date.
Yes,
I-
and that's my next question is can we retroactive that back to the last council date, which was May 6th?
That's, I mean, 2-year employee.
May 13th.
May 13th, that'll work.
Any questions on that? Is everybody fine with that? Have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Wright,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Higginbottom,
Yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
Sampson.
Yes.
Thank you, council.
Item number 4, discussion and possible action to authorize advertisements for bids for Casper Drainage Improvements Phase 2, materials only for project number WAG-23-06.
Make that motion to authorize advertising for the bids. Okay, we're drained.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Butler,
Yes.
Sampson,
Yes.
Higginbottom,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Wagoner.
Yes.
Item number 5, discussion and possible action to accept the quote of Municipal Industries for pool chemicals, 24 each or 1 pallet of 60-pound pails, Accutab SI tablets in the amount not to exceed $4,500, which includes shipping, as recommended by Infrastructure Solutions Group, LLC, Consulting Engineers, project number WAG-24-06.
Has this already been purchased? Because the pool opened up this weekend, don't it? Next week?
I
I
believe,
think we had enough to get us
Get
going.
through?
yeah.
Yeah.
So did we,
So we can only use, if you saw, there's different quotes, but the Accutab is the only one we can use for the pool.
okay,
That's what it's designed for. So that's why we're needing to go with that. Fortunately, that's the only one we can find. There's different tablets, but they're not the right tablets.
okay.
So moved.
Second.
A motion second, further discussion? Please call the roll.
Wright,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Higginbottom,
Yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Sampson.
Yes.
Item number 6, discussion and possible action to accept the quote of the Aquaplex Incorporated for pool chemicals, 400 pounds of conditioner in the amount not to exceed $1,200, includes local pickup, as recommended by Infrastructure Solutions Group, LLC, Consulting Engineers, project number WAG-24-06.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Have a motion second, please call the
Sorry,
roll.
I did not get the motion in second.
Larry and Jimmy.
I was turning my page, sorry. Abernathy,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Higginbottom,
Yes.
Sampson,
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes.
Item number 7, discussion and possible action to accept the quote of the Aquaplex Incorporated for pool chemicals, 24 gallons of muriatic acid in the amount not to exceed $200 pickup, as recommended by Infrastructure Solutions Group, LLC, Consulting Engineers, project number WAG-24-06.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Have a motion second, please call the roll.
Leonard,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Higginbottom,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Sampson,
Yes.
Abernathy.
Yes.
Item number 8, discussion and possible action to accept the quote of Texas Scenic Company in the amount of $16,410 for stage curtains for the Wagoner Civic Center.
I got a question on that. We're gonna pay $16,000 for curtains,
So, there's a couple things on that.
okay?
One of my biggest issues is the fire retardant.
Yes.
It's way overdue. I mean, that thing is a major fire hazard right now. Did you see the pictures? It's completely
Yeah, I saw it, but
falling apart. This company is the same one that the school uses, Tulsa Performing Arts. They came and measured. The only other person that would come and actually measure this, I believe, was in South Carolina, and it was ridiculous what they were wanting, and so it stinks. Luckily, the city budget is a lot better shape than Public Works, so we're looking really good. We're gonna be able to afford to do that this budget and actually not move forward into next year's budget needing it, but it needs it bad. I mean, it's.
What I'm just curious about, we paying 16,000, but we got mold in there, and the outside needs to be done. And a lot more work needs to be done, before the curtains. Because the outside is all horrible. It looks like it's just a building that's been abandoned, weeds growing up in the parking lot, and it needs to be painted, but first of all, we need the mold fixed. If you got a kid with asthma going in there and smelling that mold, they're gonna get sick. But that seems to me more important than the curtains, to me.
Well, I understand that, but also as a firefighter, if that thing goes up and somebody's on stage, it's gonna go.
Well, they don't have nobody on stage.
Do what?
When are these gonna be delivered and installed?
Kenneth isn't here. I can't tell you exactly when it would be. We would actually install it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't install it. We would.
Before the summer programs start and the kids start flowing in there?
I wish I could answer that. I'm not 100% sure. I would think so. Pretty positive. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure on that. On the mold.
Yeah.
Mold. I believe the last I saw that it was in what I call the
chambers.
conference room.
The Chamber of Commerce, or a different area.
Kind of and before you get to the gym, I'm talking about that little
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
meeting room.
Mhm.
But I think that was bleached and painted over, don't
From my understanding.
Yeah,
so, and then I believe it's in the proposed budget to actually redo the flower beds and stuff and make it look a lot better on the outside as well.
and the painting, because I think that was budget 2 years ago, supposed to be in.
I'm not sure about painting. I know
Or power
last
washing.
year we did some stuff. I wonder if that had to do with the roof, because that came into effect. They had to power wash the roof, and that was before I took office, but it was still leaking. And Gil Miller was coming back to fix that. But they had to power wash all that, I would call it like a latex paint type coating, to get that off to reseal it. But I don't know if that's what you're talking about on painting, or because that was on the roof.
I can't remember, I had to look at my old budget notes. But,
I will say, we do have money in the budget this year and the proposed budget as well for building renovation.
yeah, because it really needs to be
It
renovated,
does need a painting outside and inside. I will agree.
I'd like to see the floor redone in the,
Yeah, I know the outside looks horrible.
Well, the paint's starting to flake off of the floor.
Even the parking lot, the grass growing up, your appearance, the old saying, you put lipstick on a pig, still
oh
look
yeah,
like a pig.
no, absolutely. Thing is, I feel like that auditorium is used.
It's been there like before 1979,
We,
right in there,
and I can't remember.
because I remember going to the movies there.
I think it's in here, yeah, it was,
30 years old.
yeah. I got a year on it. It's pretty rough shape. I think he said when he was just touching it, it was falling apart, so. And this is the backdrop, it's not the front curtain, did you look at the dimensions? I think it's 40 by 20, it's
Yeah.
massive.
Said the curtains was installed in 1994. So,
And I know it hasn't been treated. I can't remember. I think it says it in there within,
10 years.
yeah.
10 years.
And
If we had done our job and it says should have been taken down 10 years and sent back, would it have been cheaper than purchasing new ones or not? I wouldn't,
30 years, I don't know.
I mean, that's,
I'm falling apart at 31.
that's what it just says, 10 years.
So. I'm not gonna start on that, Jimmy. I mean, I hate it, but, you know, if this was the armory or something that isn't really utilized by the public, I mean, summer program, they go out there a lot. Anytime the chamber has, you know, an elected official, not necessarily a debate, 'cause it's not a debate, but a little quorum, they use it. We have several things out there. It's just, we have to start fixing things. I know this one's a steep fix, but it definitely needs it. Further discussion, anything, Gayla?
So the budget looks good for that out there?
Oh, yeah, it's in this year's budget, it's not, I mean,
What is- what
It's
is
in the
our-
budget you're operating on right
yeah.
now.
25K.
Remaining?
We have 17.
Okay.
Further discussion, entertain a motion?
Make a motion to accept the quote from Texas Zinc Company.
Second.
Have a motion second, please call the roll.
Butler,
Yes.
Abernathy,
Yes.
Wagoner,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
Sampson,
Yes.
Higginbottom.
Yes.
Item number 9, discussion and planning of 2024-2025 city and EMS budgets.
So, on this, pretty excited about it. It looks pretty good. Got some good stuff in here. Gonna let Dwayne kind of take off like he just did with, Public Works, and then we're gonna kind of tag team it, go back and forth.
Thank you, that's a lot easier.
I didn't think that, I thought it was attached to those cords.
Let's make it easier. Okay, is it on? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, I'll lean forward. Okay, starting in the city of Wagoner, in the revenue aspect, one positive aspect of inflation, our city taxes actually went up. So we have increased the revenue from $3,250,000 to $3,500,000, so an increase of $250,000. And the change you see in the revenue portion of the proposed budget with the city of Wagoner. Also, we have highlighted ebook school partnership. I know Janie has contacted the school several times over the course of this year. Had not had any feedback with them in that partnership with the ebooks with 7,500 from the revenue that they was helping support in doing the ebooks. So with that, we have zeroed that out to 0 from 7,500.
So we're not doing the ebooks again?
That's our SORA program, that's what
So yeah, that's all, yes.
the school had agreed to contribute 7,500 to, but they didn't do, they haven't continued.
We will continue ebooks, it's just not at the elevated amount that it was with the partnership with the school. That answer your question, Mr. Sampson?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Moving on to Parks and Recreation. In the salaries aspect, we actually have an added full-time employee as well as an adjusted part-time employee in the Parks Department with an adjustment in the salaries line item. Moving on down into the Christmas light show with the GRDA grant carryover, we have money carried over from the grant from GRDA aspect into that, which is the $7,455 is carried over into the new budget, or proposed budget, I should say. Schools and training, we have in the past had $1,000 in the schools and training. I don't know that they've utilized that into the past, but we would like to see more utilization of schools and training in the park department with personnel. So we've increased that to 2,500 with those employees, especially with adding more employees as well. Insurance general, as you can see, has went up from $9,400 roughly to $11,000. Our ONG gas bill, we have zeroed that out because we have no longer have a gas bill in regards to that part department as well. The next two items as well, playground equipment installed at Lincoln Park and Maple Park with the playground equipment that was budgeted from last year in the budget with Parks and Rec has been bought and expended and put up in both appropriate places with Lincoln Park and as well as Maple Park. The mower that was purchased as well with all the grass and all of that nature last year of $8,500, that has been zeroed out as well. And then the continuing on down with the WEDA donation expense of $10,000 that was expended on this year's budget and has been zeroed out in the proposed budget coming forward, as well as the park committee donation expense of $5,300 roughly dollars in that regards. The transfer for capital projects was $15,000. We have that cost at $10,000 at present. We may end up having to come back and adjust that this next round, but that is in regards to when the new tennis court went in play that the school installed in a partnership with the city. That road through Maple Park is no longer there. It had to be tore out and stuff. So we need to get that asphalt road back in there and connected back in, and that's what that line item is for with the capital projects transfer.
I get a question, the playground equipment and the capital outlay went down, is that for new equipment? Or is that for maintenance of equipment?
No, that is for what we determine. You know, if, say, like, we did buy new, if we want to buy new equipment, add equipment, Lincoln, Dunbar, wherever, or more mulch, border, that's what that is.
And the insurance general, is that like for cover all the parks?
That's to cover the insurance on the playground equipment that was installed.
Okay. On all, just new or all,
Should be.
just new ones?
Which one is that?
Is that,
Well, that's why it increased. It's all.
All,
I mean,
yeah,
It's
all,
covering the
okay.
whole park, but you gotta
Okay.
think, we've been pretty busy with parks this
Yeah.
year, so definitely going up. And then on the salaries, so they need another guy. I mean, handling those flower beds and everything. I had originally wanted to do two, but we sat down and talked about it, and they felt like they were comfortable with doing one. And then the part-time employee would actually be in the fall and into the winter time, helping with the Christmas stuff and everything like that. And then the school and training, we bumped that up because I want to send Todd to that playground and inspector's class. Any other questions?
Seeing none, I'll move forward. Municipal court, have no change. Water park, we do have an adjustment in conversation with salaries in that aspect. Over the past last couple of years, as you guys are well aware of, trying to get lifeguards to open the pool. It's been a challenge. We've had some discussion in that and raising those wages for lifeguards as well as cashiers in that aspect. So that is proposed in the new budget, and you see it as a highlight item as well. Repairs and maintenance on the water park. We need to paint the pool again. From that standpoint, it's on the cycle and really needs it this coming year. It needs to be done this year. We just don't have the funds in there, but this coming year for the next year to be opened up in the pool, that cost has went from 16,800 to 2,300 of an increase. And then the other item of change in there is a vacuum cleaning system, which we purchased on the budget we're on right now, and that line item has been zeroed out.
There's natural gas at the pool?
There
Yes,
was a bill
yes,
for
there's
natural
a-
gas.
There is a
Remember,
natural
kept
gas
asking.
heater.
They said now it's zero out.
I thought,
They said it's zero out.
I believe, you know that block room there by the slides, it's kinda actually outside the gate?
Mhm.
There is a wall heater in there. Natural gas wall.
So the old, NG, bill,
Oh,
gas,
water- on the-
that was in the
Water
park.
park.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
So, there was an ONG bill
Mhm.
in the park, but I believe they had kind of the same setup, but they went completely electric last year.
Any other questions? Moving on to the airport, insurance general, with a slight increase to 2,200 off of this year's adjustment that we've seen. So we've carried that on into this next year's proposed budget. General government, repairs and maintenance in general, we had a line item in there of $7,300. We have increased that to $10,500. Would like to do some repainting in the council chambers here as well. Potentially the carpet if we're able to do it, but we need to do some upgrades within maintenance of the city hall here. So that line item has been increased. We also have a line item in there you see as well with the state audit. We do not have that actual number yet, but we have put a dollar figure of $80,000 in there for the state audit. And OML dues, we have a cost increase from $6,875 to $7,000 for OML dues. Continuing on general government, into the council room audio streaming equipment, which we purchased. We're utilizing at present as well, that we budgeted last year for $15,000. We have expended that, and we are zeroing out that line item into this coming year budget.
So we're getting, new computers? You're the 12.5 on, 510, 407? So it look like there's a
That computer's,
12.5 every year.
that computer's conversation is in there for the aspect of downtime of the computers that are in City Hall and the different departments where there's payroll, development of services and all that. So we have a line item if we have issues with computers and we need to purchase a new computer.
So has that been carried over, or is it just?
That is carried over.
Okay.
Yeah, that's rolling over.
Have we submitted a list of what we want the state auditor to look at in this audit yet?
No,
When do you plan on doing that?
When the auditor comes, probably.
And when they're ready, which is a good thing, when they're ready, we'll be ready.
Is, in this, part here, is there anywhere in here that says when council, where are you looking
did
for?
you just skip a page? Where you at?
On 9, I think.
Page 9. Oh, development services?
Yep.
Where, oh, yeah.
We're still in general government.
Yeah, you're
Okay, then
you're
I skipped
skipping
a page.
ahead, that's what I thought. Hold on. Simmer down, Gayla.
Any questions in general government continue?
Okay.
Otherwise, we will move on to development services.
And it's training, travel, and lodging on general government. What does that consist of? What kind of training? Is that for like counselors or employees or what?
So we don't go anywhere.
Well, all councils do this, but Wagoner, Oklahoma. Oh, so that's training for us to go somewhere to do training? Because I know we never been to training, and I know everybody else have. I just want to make sure.
Any other questions? Not, I'll move on to development and services.
It's page 9.
Page 9.
Yes, page 9.
Insurance general with a slight increase from $1,445 to $1,500. And then also the telephone from $1,000 to $1,200.
Okay. let's see here. I'm checking something. Make sure I have a category.
Any questions?
Gail's got something, I think.
Is this like this is not EDF fund, it's just development service, right?
Right, no,
Okay,
we have
gotcha.
not made the
Okay,
EDF
good.
now.
I was jumping ahead, sorry.
So now we'll be moving to the police department. page
Okay.
10. Oh,
Police department?
hold on.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just wanted to.
go ahead.
Police department, highlighted changes, down through there is miscellaneous expense, drug enforcement line item, that's got a slight increase from $5,296 to $6,080. The OLITs user fee, with an increase, that we're all experiencing various departments of things, from $5,400 to $5,900. Insurance general, from 25.8 to 27. And then repairs and maintenance in vehicles, we've bumped that back up just a little bit, with some of their other, fleet, Ford Crown Vics and the Dodge Durangos that we are utilizing. Body cam annual maintenance contract, zeroed out. Router lease IT services, with a slight increase of $1,500 from $4,500 to $6,000. Our police vehicle fleet lease increase, from $137,000 to $144,000. And then we are looking at, going to new body cameras, with a payment of 1 of 5 of $17,825. We will actually get a trade-in cost in that conversation with the company from that aspect, and those body cameras are being upgraded and improved for our officers in this budget, as well as the taser equipment payment of $5,300. Both of those supporting documents are in your budget book as well. And we have Assistant Chief Tony Pons here that can happily answer any questions beyond that if you need them. Any questions? Seeing none, I will move on. In the fire department, fire runs, we're looking at increasing the fire run pay for our volunteer firefighters from $14,000 to $30,000. Also, creating a volunteer incentive of a line item with $2,000 in it. Our insurance general, as in all departments, are going up from inflation from $11,730 to $12,000. And as I alluded to in the public works earlier with our digger derrick truck that we left at $250 because we knew inflation was going up, but we don't have the revenue to increase that line item. In the city departments, we also have a pumper truck in the same scenario. We know that by the time we get delivery, the cost of that truck will be more. and we have increased it from 250 to 300,000. Lions Club donation expense, from 4,000 with a reduction slightly to 3,000. That's a carryover conversation, I believe, correct, Chief? Any questions within the fire department?
What's the volunteer incentive again?
So what that is I did an extra review. We had a gentleman retired, gave the city of Wagoner several years of his life. And, we cut out the Christmas bonus for part-timers. So what that would be is now get them a hat or shirt if they make 50% of the all-page calls.
Basically ensure we have volunteers show up when the call is needed, so we're trying to give an incentive to make sure we have those personnel to help deal with those, whether it be structure fire, grass fires, or whatnot. We have the personnel. Any other questions within the fire department? Seeing none, I'll move on. Street department. No change in there other than repair and equipment and maintenance. We're increasing that from 14,000 to 30,000. We have a lot of equipment that's aged in the street department as well, with some hydraulic leaks, cylinders and whatnot. $14,000 is not enough in the current budget to make those repairs, so we have increased that line item from 14,000 to 30,000. And we actually have some supporting document to relinquish as well if you need BC that. But we've got some backhoes, the cat loader, those items that we need to make some repairs on.
I just gotta circle back real quick on the, fire department, the incentive thing. So that's in, exit interview, you said something about that, they were talking about the bonuses?
Yes.
Okay. Not to bring that up, but we went from longevity pay and took out the bonuses for part-time people, and they want an incentive of being part-time and not getting that, so it's a good thing, but we're implementing an incentive for people that are part-time for the fire department, but we don't have any for the rest of them.
Well,
Although
also
volunteer.
yeah.
Well, they're
yeah,
volunteer, but I mean, it's still,
It's kind of a different, because, you know, you have part-time employee, they're considered part-time. You know, you
Right,
have
well,
a
that's-
part-time employee, they're usually an hourly employee. This is a paid volunteer that,
Right.
right now, if we got called out for a house fire and hooked up to a hydrant or a tanker, it's $15. And if we're there for 12 hours, it's $15.
no, I get that, I mean, and I'm glad that it's in there, but we're just kind of circling back from a longevity that I think the last time I was trying to implement where we can keep part-time people getting something and incentivizing the longevity people, but now we excluded them, and now we're going back, and, which is fine, we're putting some people back.
Reserves at the PD too, that, you know,
If I could add something to that,
I
Yeah.
mean, I agree.
Yeah.
That we need something for volunteer firefighters.
Well, no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm for that for sure. I guess it all comes back down to full circle when it comes down to every department, you know, that the longevity, we negated the $50 for the part-time person, and with the exit interview now, which is fine, we're adding that back in there for the fire department, and
I think emergency services is just a little bit different than everybody else.
Well, I think with the part-time, you on a paid scale for part-time for like whatever, 24 hours or whatever, but as a volunteer, you come in or you don't come in, but if you come in, it's a incentive that you came in.
well, then by no means, I'm
not-
not saying
it's
that they
not
don't deserve
guaranteed.
it, and I think they do, and everyone else does as well.
I
But that's
think
all.
everybody's understanding what you're
Yeah.
saying. Go ahead, Kelly,
Yes, sir.
what was you gonna say?
Just, you know, I volunteered for all kinds of things.
Right.
You know, you plan that volunteer. You go volunteer somewhere, they know what time you're coming in and when you're gonna do it. You set a date. It's not like this for emergency services.
Right.
That's not the way it works. You know, you come and volunteer at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we try to have to cut you loose at 7 so you can go to your next job.
Right.
Well, you're not gonna volunteer somewhere that you're not getting sleep. You know what I mean? You're not gonna volunteer at that place.
Yeah.
So that's the difference in that. I always say that we're not any different than anybody else. People say, oh, we're different. Really will. Because you take that and them volunteers there, they get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they go from 2 to 6 o'clock, and then they have to go to work at 7.
Right.
You know, there was nothing from them. And I can understand where you get your feelings hurt that, you know, you're only getting $50. It's not the amount of money, it's, that you gave.
Right.
And we kinda overlook that sometimes.
Right.
It's not the amount of what you give.
That's what.
It's just that you show the appreciation.
Sure.
It's the heart that they keep into
It's
it.
the heart of it.
Yeah.
We kinda overlook that, you know.
Well, yeah, that's why I was just touching
And
on
that's
it.
the difference in that volunteering.
We don't provide a t-shirt or anything.
No, we don't buy, they buy their own shirts.
Yeah.
Right, I
They do
understand
all
that,
that
yeah.
stuff, you know. And so that's the difference in that right there. There's no plan, we plan very little of that when they're coming in.
And another thing is, you know, other volunteer departments, they have some pretty good incentives. I mean, where they give hats, shirts, hoodies, jackets, gloves, pretty substantial
No,
size
yeah.
Christmas bonus.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's
I know
a,
what you're
Yeah.
saying.
I think it's a good thing.
understand it.
I'm just kind of just circling back from the last thing that we cut something out that actually benefited everyone. And then, I been okay with that on top of the incentive of a shirt and everything else for, you know, the fire department, but.
Reserves and PD.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to remind you guys too that the council was gracious enough that when we did that with the longevity bonuses, that we made good faith in providing the revive penalty insurance that part-time employees.
She's right there too.
Yeah, we did add the phone deal in there.
Oh, you about telehealth?
Telehealth, yeah.
Right.
We did offer that to the
We
volunteers.
have that before.
Yeah, that was an incentive.
Yes.
I don't know, how does the reserves work, Tony?
They don't get paid, I think at the end of the year, Christmas time, I think they get a little something. We're not like the fire department, we don't have that many of reserve officers, you know, we have like 2. And, but like I said, they're not like the fire department, like you guys, they come out, you know, help us on different things, like Christmas parade and different things like that, help, but they're not like.
They're not called like fire
They're not called
department,
out.
yeah.
I think we need to make sure we're doing something for them too, so we need to double check that.
Mhm.
Cause I didn't even think about the reserves for the police department, but, and I probably would've thought about going back to the $50 Christmas bonus, but I had a long talk with that gentleman, I said, you know, what would you rather have? What do you think our guys would rather have? And we kinda felt like this would be a little better than meaning something, you know, and then you wear that with your pride.
Oh, I was gonna say, we can do that on top of the video. I have paperwork for that if you guys wanna relook at the longevity and incentivizing everyone with the Christmas bonus to kinda compensate for everyone, so I have that, so we could maybe look at that too as well. Just giving more. More's better, especially for our employees, they deserve it, every department.
Go ahead.
Next page, street department continued. Transfer from capital projects for asphalt, with $700,000 in there for this coming year's asphalt budget. Stainless steel salt spreader we had budgeted last year, we purchased that as well, so that is zeroed out. The Skeeter fogger that we have budgeted for last year, we have purchased that as well. It's been zeroed out, and the Bobcat compactor attachment item is zeroed out.
I swear the mosquitoes are worse this year than they ever have
And
been.
they're
We've had
And they're
more
massive,
rain.
like,
We've had more rain.
goodness gracious.
They were big last
They're
year.
massive, they
I
sound
think
like
we only
birds going by
sprayed
your
like 3
head.
times.
Vampire.
They're massive. I'm thinking it's a bee and it's a mosquito. It's not good.
Next department, HR, Human Resources, zero change. Next department, Library,
Insurance general has went up, along with other departments, from $10,345 to $11,800. VIP IT services with an increase of $19,600 to $23,100. Computer software and repairs with a slight increase from $5,415 to $5,500. Building renovation, LED lighting. We got some lights out, looking at being more energy efficient at that facility and changing all of the lighting structure out into an LED conversation. Therefore, that has been increased from $3,800 just to replace some lights and bulbs to totally change out the entire lighting system in the library with $7,800. Security camera, the next three items are carryover funds from the existing budget we're operating off of, with security cameras of $22,000 carryover. AC replacement with some current information and bids that we have gotten on $16,000 in current budget. Do not have the money to do that project. Therefore, we're carrying forward an increase of $2,650 as what the bids have come in, as well as the roof restoration of $21,000 that we do not have the money to do with the current bid coming in as $35,000.
So did we not check with was it not a warranty on this roof or not?
Do what?
Is it not a warranty on the roof or not,
A warranty on the roof?
of the library roof? Was it not a 30-year warranty or repair or nothing like that? Trying to check on that.
When was the roof redone?
Probably when it built. I don't know.
Oh, I doubt.
I don't know.
Just because you have a 30-year shingle, you don't get that 30-year warranty. That's just what they say it's supposed to be the life of. Besides, that's not a shingle, that's a flat roof, which is a disaster in its own, being a flat roof.
Water will find a crack and keep going.
Any other questions from the Department of Library? Not, we'll move on to cemetery. Cemetery with gas, oil, and services, with a slight increase from $5,000 to $5,500. Software maintenance with a slight increase of $950 to $1,000. Insurance general has been alluded to in several departments. You see it in every department, but I continue to identify it because it's a change and it's highlighted from $2,515 to $2,700. And repairs and maintenance equipment and vehicle from $8,900 to $10,750. We have one backhoe tire that we need to address on the backhoe. From that aspect, we're radio with the price of it, and that's the biggest issue with that change in there, along with some of the other maintenance issues with equipment at cemetery. We also have two new lawnmowers presented in this year's budget at $13,000 apiece for a total of $2,600. Supporting documentation with all the bids or in your, or quotes are in your packet as well. The one that we're actually looking at is a rear exit mower. In other words, so when the grass is mowed at the cemetery, hopefully we reduce the amount of grass that is thrown on the headstones and graves. Therefore, it would stay in the center of the right-of-way where the grass is and help be more presentable and respectful of that situation. So that's the reason we have selected and proposed those two lawnmowers for the budget.
Also, what was those tires?
Right, yeah,
Those
run flat.
those tires are also the run flat tire. I forget the exact name of it without looking at the.
Yeah, they run
the-
flat.
Quill.
Yeah.
The twill tires on that, so
That should help cut down on ruts, and very excited about these lawnmowers with it blowing out the back instead of up on the headstones, so.
and if you're familiar with those twills versus pneumatic tires, when they compress down, they compress more flat and give more of a track-based conversation versus a pneumatic tire, which is more round with air. So hopefully that will help us in minimizing some of the the ruts. I mean, obviously in this time of year with the rain, as much rain as we got, I don't know anything that will minimize ruts without just not doing it from that standpoint, but nonetheless. And also the restrooms at the cemetery, the roof is getting in bad shape. We have got some quotes to replace it, both quotes from shingles and metal roof. We would like to make the recommendation of a metal roof on there, and we have got that quote in there as well. Metal just lasts longer and has more longevity to it. Any questions within the cemetery department? Hearing none, I'll move forward. Community building, page 18, I believe is the next department behind your quotes. Cemetery. No change. Next department is museum. With supplies, we have reduced the supplies from 5,000 to 4,500. In that line item, schools and training, we have actually implemented a line item in this department to send that employee to school and get some training in regards to museum history, etc. Insurance general has a slight reduction. This is one of the benefits of the rare incidents we've seen in our insurance going down. Part of that is due to the Halsey equipment no longer being in there. Contract labor zeroed out. There's no contract labor in that department. And that concludes the changes in the museum. Any questions? No questions, I'll move on to the cemetery, or Civic Center. Civic Center insurance has went up from $9,550 to $10,000. We have that line item change. As Ms. Wright was alluding to with some of the painting and issues within the Civic Center and all of that nature, you'll notice the building renovation line item down there, we have a $25,000. I would like to see some renovation done to the exterior walls, specifically in interior walls in regards to that, because it is starting to get in bad shape. The paint is peeling off of the blocks and taking part of the cement with it. That line item actually may have to be increased, but we have not got all the details and information in as of today's date for the first budget presentation. So there's no change there, obviously. Any questions at Civic Center? Seeing none, that brings us to the expense summary of the total expenses, as I alluded to earlier. And we have a fund balance in the city department of $174,840. Mayor, I'll turn it back to you.
Any questions? So,
When we proceed back to EMS,
or do you want to do the we can do the EDF?
is that one that, yes,
Yeah.
we can do EDF. Okay. EDF, going down through there, we did not highlight it. I just now noticed several changes, so I'll just go down through each line item in that regards from that standpoint. Talking from the start of the top, sales tax proceeds at 525,000. Our interest income is 800, no change. We do have a cash on hand, which increased to make the budget from $333,375 to $695,017. Abatement lien paid, we zeroed that out because that is gone as of this budget year. Getting down into the other services and charges, the transfer to the city to the general fund with the Halsey collection that we had in there in the previous budget as the budget we're operating off of now, $1,500. In the new proposed budget is zeroed out to zero. Transfer to WPWA gross revenue fund from $12,500 to zeroed out for this upcoming budget. Transfer for event and tourism director of $47,000 that we're operating on a current budget to the new proposed budget of zero. Transfer of special events for Christmas celebration of $10,000 that we're operating on as well. Part of that is in the carryover conversation talked about earlier, but that is zeroed out. Transfer to city capital projects funds from $13,500 to a reduction of $5,000. Transfer to special events for Bluegrass Festival of $45,600 on existing budget we're operating off of to a proposed budget next year of zero. Transfer to WPWA for capital projects fund of $100,000 that we're operating off of this year. No change and continue on into the proposed budget. INCOG membership, no change, $6,000. Metropolitan Environmental Trust, the MET recycling program, has a slight increase from $24,200 to $25,950. The tourism, we continue with no change of $15,000. Transfer to special events for the 4th of July celebration of $15,000 that we're operating off of now. We have enough revenue in those special event funds to actually take care of those aspects and not need to pull from EDF this year, so that's a zeroed in the proposed budget for 4th of July. Wagoner Economic Development Authority transfer, no change of $60,000. Chamber of Commerce, as you can see in the asterisk with Summerfest, with an increase of $16,500 to $20,000. Community Economic Development Improvements, it's demo, mowing, housing, demolition, et cetera, of that nature. The current $80,000 we're operating off of, no change, carry over with $80,000 into the new budget. Industrial procurement of $160,000, no change. Dunbar Park Perimeter Shared Use Trail, TAP grant, ODOT grant. We had $150,000 last year that we started banking on that to get ready for that project to start off in this coming year. We also have increased that to $170,000 on top of that. So from $150,000 to $170,000, $345,000. Downtown Streetscape Phase 2, which is South Main, the Phase 2 part of the streetscape, with our part of the match money when the ODOT TAP grant of $372,723. That's our match part with the grant. And it also leaves us a fund balance in the EDF of $155,104.
509-386, I thought we was getting rid of that. Met.
So we looked into that, and we would have to pay back quite a bit on grants. We're on the hook for grants if we leave the Met.
So we gotta keep the Met at 25,000 in order to,
Not have to repay those federal grants.
so if we get rid of it, how much federal grant? We gotta pay, like an enormous amount?
It wasn't enormous, but it was more than double of this.
So it was not considered that when we got it, or
Do what now?
that wasn't, I mean, like, nobody thought about that when they, and looked into the Met?
I don't know.
I mean,
when
it was
we
before
went
your
into the
time.
Met.
I mean, it's,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I would,
Because if we're gonna keep it, it's gonna have to go somewhere else. It just can't stay there. It looks horrible.
and that's,
And I agree with that statement,
that's
100%.
a long-time goal is they're supposed to, they bought a building, actually, a portable building type deal. It's supposed to go in the industrial park. I don't know what they're waiting on. Even Chris Edwards reached out to me. I think he kinda wanted to do it. If they were interested, in that, where that natural gas station was there to the east of the county barn,
Yeah.
'cause it's all concrete. And he said, you know, I hate to just put gravel and stuff on that, and so maybe we can get them to let us put it there. 'Cause,
Yeah, 'cause somebody said even big boxes right next to the EMS dumpster, and it's been there all week. I mean, the trash man came, but he wasn't picking up the humongous boxes.
Hey, on 509-350, special events for the Christmas celebration, that, we had enough in the fund to pay for itself.
We did.
correct?
That's the reason it's zeroed out, just like the 4th of July.
What's the reason for getting rid of the events and tourism?
I don't agree with it. I think it's teetotal waste of funds.
So that was Dale's salary, right?
Yes.
Okay, not there, okay.
We didn't have one before, so we will rely on the committee.
Who's on the committee?
Kelly, most your supervisors, Dwayne.
Kelly, the utilities, police department, developmental services, street, everything that goes into a special event, whether it be electric, water.
I'm sure we only had that many events anyway, like that many, like 4, something like that.
Just, can't justify it. It was gonna go up. You're probably saving City of Wagoner over $50,000. Further
Fin-
questions?
Finishing out, I think you still got one other line item I didn't finish out. The grant, taxiway rehab with the FAA project, the match grant of 9010. I wish all of our grants was this way, but, reducing it from $85,000 to $50,695, finishing out that grant. And that concludes your economic development fund proposed budget at present. Would you like me to roll into EMS?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Going into EMS, with proposed budget, you'll see with the revenue aspects, with ambulance runs, from an increase of 830,000 to a 1 million, anticipated. And Medicare cost adjustments from $94,000, $90, a reduction down to 80,000. Getting into the actual departmental expenses. The salaries with adding 2 additional employees for putting on another truck, which is a day truck, operate during the day shift only. With that conversation comes along with gas, oil, and filters increase due to an additional truck from 50,000 to 65,000. Billing service with anticipated increased runs with an additional truck, increasing from 64,000 to 80,000. And run software with a proposed change from Code Red to ESO from 5,000 to 16,550. Hopefully this is a conversation that helps eliminate missing run sheets, data, which ultimately in turn is directly correlated to revenue in
So
EMS.
Code Red is also becoming outdated. This will track narcotics, unfinished run sheets. It's gonna cut down on a lot of issues leading back towards that. And then
Been down about 4,000 next year. That's not set up for you. And next
Right.
year it's gonna be about 10,000 a year anyway.
Have we fixed that problem with the unfinished run sheets and the missing run sheets since last budget?
And then the day truck, we're talking about it, probably it started out doing a 8-hour shift doing, Wednesday through Sunday. Now I believe we're gonna actually do a 12-hour shift Thursday through Sunday. And as long as it makes one transfer a day, it pays for itself. So very excited about that. I hope that, things
That's good.
continue this way, that next year it'll be a full 24-hour truck.
So it's gonna be 12 hours, what?
412s.
412s,
412s.
which that's kind of your busier time, especially the weekend.
We look at 8A to 8P is our window on the busiest. And Monday, Friday, Wednesday, and Saturday are our busiest days. But we'll haven't really figured out what days for sure, what they get passed through, and we're all putting together what's gonna be our best as far as what'll be the most beneficial.
About the biggest cost on that, I believe, is gonna be salaries. We already have the third truck. It's pretty much equipped and ready to go, so you're gonna have a little bit more increase on medications, things like that. But it's gonna be a great service to citizens of Wagoner and Wagoner County. I'm very excited about that. Any further questions on EMS?
The ambulance lease purchase payment, continuing on with a reduction from $200,001 down to $75,000. With a fund balance in EMS with an increased anticipated revenue of those increases in the revenue of $120,000 fund balance. So that concludes EMS. So you're looking at an $174,000 fund balance in the city, $120,000 fund balance in the EMS, and a $4,000 fund balance in Wagoner Public Works Authority.
Any questions, discussion on the budget?
On the Civic Center, did we incorporate maybe a cleaning person budget for somebody to clean the Civic Center on event time or something? I mean, like,
We have some.
oh,
Well, if you read the, go back to salaries, it's actually listed under Cindy Bottoms, but you know, her husband passed away and she's taking some time off.
to clean the Civic Center? I mean, that's, I'm sorry,
Talking about
I mean, the
community
community building, yeah.
That's something we do need to look into.
Yes, we do.
We need to, can you figure out what we would need to do to offset that?
You could probably
Because
pay,
what we're having to do right now is overtime in the park.
In regards to the park employees and cleaning that versus creating a full-time or employee to clean the community building?
Because
Asking?
we have, I believe the lady at the jail was
Yes.
interested in it.
And she does a good job.
I mean, you could even pay somebody like $200 a month, and they just come and clean it, not there, but an hour, and it may not be, I mean, nobody may not rent it but 5 times out of the month, but it's just not fair for these employees at Park to take a day off to go clean the community building on a Saturday or
That-
Sunday.
That community building, and Ronnie
You
can
know.
probably allude to it more than I can, but it is rented way more than 5 times.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
It's
but I mean,
rented
in
probably
winter, in the summer and all that, you know.
80% of the month,
They don't
in
take that
regards to
long.
that, so.
You know,
Yeah, I completely agree. I would
Yep.
like to see that where, our park guys want to have them do that.
yeah.
Mayor, turn it back to you.
Any questions? Moving on to adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Patrick and Galen have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Butler. Abernathy. Higginbottom. Sampson.
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
Wagoner.
Meeting adjourned at 8:25.
Make you throw them off. Drop the.
Hey, John.